Hey, look what happened. Is this crazy?
Donald Trump's return to the presidency in 2024 was not just a political resurgence. It was a narrative of resilience, controversy, and a deep understanding of the American electorate's psyche. His journey from a defeated former president to the 47th president of the United States was marked by legal battles, strategic campaigning, and a rekindled connection with his voter base. Donald Trump vacated the White House in January 2021 following his defeat by Joe Biden, but the groundwork for his political resurrection was laid almost instantly. The January 6th Capitol riot, spurred by Trump's persistent claims of election fraud, directly led to his second impeachment by the House of Representatives. While this incident significantly damaged his reputation in certain circles, it paradoxically bolstered his image among his base. His supporters began to view Trump not as a defeated leader, but as a martyr in a battle against what they perceived as a corrupt establishment. The numerous legal challenges he faced, from investigations into his business practices to his role in the election aftermath, were interpreted not as just consequences, but as part of a coordinated effort to undermine him, further entrenching his narrative among his followers. The years following Donald Trump's presidency were marked by legal turmoil and political resilience. He faced numerous indictments, including allegations of financial fraud in New York, mishandling of classified documents, and attempts to interfere in the 2020 election. These legal battles were highly publicized, yet they did not weaken his influence within the Republican Party. Instead, Trump managed to hold onto the party's base, using these challenges to reinforce his narrative of being unfairly targeted by the political establishment. He branded these legal actions as a witch hunt, a tactic that resonated with his supporters, who saw him as a victim of the system rather than a perpetrator. His campaign for the 2024 election capitalized on this narrative, focusing less on presenting new policies and more on perpetuating the story of Trump as an outsider battling the entrenched political elite. Through strategic endorsements and by rallying his base with this message, Trump maintained and even strengthened his position within the GOP, turning legal adversity into political advantage. As the 2024 election cycle loomed, the political climate in the US had undergone a marked transformation. Inflation had surged to levels not seen in decades, leading to widespread public discontent with President Joe Biden's economic stewardship. The cost of living had skyrocketed, making everyday expenses a significant burden for many Americans. This economic malaise fostered a nostalgic longing for Donald Trump's era, where, despite controversies, economic indicators like unemployment were at historic lows before the COVID-19 crisis. Trump's campaign seized this moment, emphasizing a return to economic stability, stricter law enforcement, and robust border control. His message was straightforward and resonant. America could reclaim its past prosperity and security only with his leadership at the helm. Donald Trump's campaign for the 2024 election was marked by his characteristic large, energetic rallies, attracting thousands nationwide. He targeted swing states like Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin, where he had faced electoral challenges before. His speeches skillfully blended nostalgia for his tenure, highlighting successes like tax reforms and low unemployment, with scathing critiques of the Biden administration's record, painting it as a series of policy failures. This strategy aimed to reignite enthusiasm among his base and sway undecided voters by contrasting his vision with the incumbent's shortcomings. Adding to the dramatic flair of his campaign were two assassination attempts. The first occurred in Butler, Pennsylvania, where a bullet narrowly missed his head, grazing his ear, turning the event into a spectacle of survival. The second attempt in West Palm Beach was equally shocking. Rather than weakening his campaign, these incidents galvanized his base, casting Trump in the role of an indomitable fighter against all odds. The media firestorm that followed these events only enhanced his narrative of resilience, with supporters rallying around him, seeing these attempts as proof of the lengths to which his opponents would go to stop him. This not only solidified his base, but also attracted sympathy votes, portraying Trump as a martyr in the political arena. In the Republican primaries, Trump's dominance was unchallenged. His rivals like Nikki Haley and Ron DeSantis found little traction, with Trump's legal battles paradoxically strengthening his support rather than weakening it. His endorsements were kingmakers in the GOP, ensuring party unity behind his candidacy. The general election against Kamala Harris, who became the Democratic nominee after Biden's withdrawal due to his poor debate performance, was a close race. Trump's campaign was a masterclass in voter psychology. He he managed to sway demographics that had previously been less supportive, including Latino and black males, particularly in states like Florida and Georgia. His promises of economic revival, stringent border control, and a hard stance on crime resonated, capturing both the Electoral College and, by a slim margin, the popular vote. On November 5th, 2024, Donald Trump was projected as the winner of the presidential election, a result that served as both a personal vindication and a profound shock to those who had anticipated his political obituary. This victory came after a contentious campaign marked by legal battles, economic debates, and a polarized electorate. The transition period that followed was fraught with tension as Trump moved swiftly to undo the policies of the Biden administration. His agenda was clear: mass deportations to address immigration, new tariffs to bolster American manufacturing, and a robust return to America First principles in international relations, signaling a significant shift in U.S. foreign policy. The inauguration on January 19th, 2025 was a pivotal moment, held indoors due to the harsh winter weather. For Trump's supporters, it was a moment of triumph, a testament to their loyalty and his resilience. For his detractors, however, it was a harbinger of potentially divisive times ahead. During his inaugural address, Trump struck a tone of assertive optimism, promising an era of unmatched prosperity and security for Americans. He revisited themes from his first term, but with a more aggressive stance, emphasizing a return to traditional values, economic nationalism, and a hard line on crime and immigration. This speech set the tone for what many expected to be a presidency focused on undoing the recent past and redefining America's role on the world stage according to Trump's vision. After his inauguration, Donald Trump's legal battles entered a new phase. With the power of the presidency, he had significant influence over the Department of Justice, which led to the dismissal of ongoing federal charges against him. This action sparked widespread debate over accountability and the integrity of the rule of law, with critics arguing it represented a dangerous precedent. His administration wasted no time in pushing forward with its agenda, focusing on deregulation to stimulate business, tax cuts primarily benefiting wealthier Americans, and stringent immigration controls that included mass deportations and border enforcement. These moves were emblematic of Trump's return to policies that had defined his first term, aiming to reshape the American economic and social landscape once again. In his second term, Donald Trump's international policy took a dramatic turn, focusing on renegotiating or abandoning trade pacts seen as not serving U.S. interests. His strategy included fostering closer ties with autocratic leaders, sometimes sidelining Democratic allies, which raised eyebrows and concerns globally. This approach was especially evident in his dealings with the NATO, where Trump's threats to reassess U.S. involvement caused significant anxiety about the future of transatlantic security. His administration's policies were perceived as a move towards isolationism, or at least a redefinition of America's role on the world stage, challenging the post World War II international order and traditional alliances. Trump's interest in Greenland transcended mere rhetoric. His team considered using economic leverage against Denmark to secure strategic advantages in the Arctic, an area increasingly vital due to melting ice and emerging shipping routes. This included potential resource exploitation and military positioning.
We need Greenland for national security purposes. I've been told that for a long time, long before I even ran. I mean, people have been talking about it for a long time. You have approximately 45,000 people there. People really don't even know if Denmark has any legal right to it. But if they do, they should give it up because we need it for national security.
Similarly, his provocative suggestion that Canada could become the 51st state was part of a broader tactic to pressure Canada. This was aimed at securing more beneficial trade deals, particularly in agriculture and energy, and tightening border policies, which Trump viewed as lax. In South America, Trump's foreign policy echoed his first term, with a strong emphasis on border security, especially at the U.S.-Mexico border. His agenda included aggressive measures to combat drug trafficking and illegal immigration, proposing interventions that stirred controversy. These policies were framed as efforts to counter the spread of socialism, which Trump linked to Venezuelan influence, and to limit Chinese economic expansion in Latin America. His administration's approach was proactive, aiming to reshape regional politics in favor of U.S. interests, often with a disregard for diplomatic norms that had traditionally guided U.S. foreign policy in the region.
We took in $600 billion and more in taxes and tariffs from China. No other president took in 10 cents, not 10 cents, not 10 cents. And no, we're going to be doing things. We're going to be treating people very.
Donald Trump's second term was set to be a continuation of the tumult and transformation of his first, characterized by bold policies that aimed to either cement his legacy or further polarize the United States. His re-election wasn't merely about reclaiming the presidency, it was an endeavor to mold the country according to his vision, challenging established political and diplomatic norms. Trump's agenda included aggressive domestic reforms and a reorientation of America's role in global affairs, often at odds with traditional allies and international bodies. Steering through a deeply divided nation, his leadership promised to be as contentious as it was dynamic, with every policy move scrutinized for its impact on the already fractured American political landscape.